Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and it is our Christmas episode. I've got my Christmas sweater on. Please put in the comments who this is, and it's not Angry Elmo. Don't make me mad because half the people I talked to this week said it was Angry Elmo. Let me know who it is in the comments. If you can't really see, there you go.
There's a
You
good
should know
picture.
this. You should know this. If you grew up in the States, especially, and you watch the Muppets, I will give you that hint. It's in the Muppets. But no, I thought Christmas sweater, Christmas. We're recording this on the 23rd, which means it'll come out on the 24th. And then obviously it'll be Christmas. So we want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Josh, how's the weather and all that fun jazz over there? I know you just mentioned beforehand that it's like 50 degrees, which means you might have a rainy Christmas, not a snowy Christmas.
Yeah, last week we were talking about the temperature being up and down, wondering if what we were gonna get. Uh, Today it's 50 degrees, and the rest of the week we're looking at around 40 degrees. So yeah, so much for the white Christmas hopes this year. It's going to be a brown Christmas, a muddy
Oh,
Christmas.
the slush Christmases. Those are my favorite.
The slush ones, yeah. So
I,
is what
I, I, I will ask you this, Josh. What is your favorite Christmas? What is your favorite thing to do on Christmas, and what is your favorite Christmas like memory or tradition that you love having back there at home?
traditions wise. Growing up, we followed the Advent calendar and had a book, and we go over one page per day, just going through the Christmas story.
Yeah.
Basically, that's one that I remember a lot growing up. Uh, as far as things to do on Christmas, watching the basketball games has got to
Oh,
be up there.
classic.
Seeing the gifts that you got get opened
Yeah.
by the gifts you bought for other people get open. That's got to be up there. Every time my mom nails cooking the ham for Christmas,
Oh,
I'd be up there.
yeah. Oh man, that's
Yeah.
those are good ones.
What about you, Ben?
You know,
Anything
I would
unique to
say
Hungary, maybe?
I would say, well, first off, growing up, I think my favorite was kind of like what you said, like especially like if it was like a video game or something that my brother and I got, and like we would just crack it open and you just spend the next like 7 hours, just playing together. But I think just yeah, generally just being with family. But no, here in Hungary, man, the Christmas markets, generally in Europe. Last Christmas, before Christmas, we went to Vienna and we went to a Christmas market. Budapest has a great Christmas market. I don't know, just it's so unique to Europe, so different than what we do in the States. Like we don't have this thing where the whole town gets together. I mean, we might have these smaller towns, might have like little things, but the fact that it's for like basically 2 months worth of just Christmas markets and there's just things to do that are Christmassy and food and like it just is really really cool. And then also here in Hungary they celebrate 3 days, not 2 days. So they celebrate the 24th, 25th, 26th.
Okay.
So it's definitely like I think now I've lived here for almost 6 years. I've gotten used to a lot of this, but I think it's always like adding new things to my memory that I'll be able to have for the rest of my life, and that's what I really enjoy. I think just the uniqueness of Europe versus America, where I think in America we're very much about ourselves and very much like it's about us, whereas in Europe I feel like there's more of a community aspect to it for sure.
Now, when you say Christmas market, are you talking about like what in the States we'd have with like a farmer's market and it's just selling like Christmas decor
Oh
and
yeah. Oh,
stuff like
not
that?
Christmas decor. I mean, yeah, there are some Christmassy stuff, but there's usually like there's a lot of Christmas based stuff, but there was a black like the one here near us, there's a blacksmith. There's like leatherworks, there's journal people, there's arts and crafts people. Like it is massive. Like I wish I could encapsulate that in words, but it's a lot bigger than what we experience, in our smaller towns. Definitely a lot different than we have, but it's very, very cool. And I recommend anyone coming to Europe during Christmas time to hit any of the markets, whether you're in Germany, Austria, Hungary, hit them up. They're really an amazing thing to go to, for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, good stuff. Now, if we talked Christmas songs, Christmas carols
We
on our
have
last.
not actually. I don't think we've talked about that in probably a couple years, to be honest with you. I don't even think I remember if we've ever talked about it. At least that's in my mind.
I got asked that recently, and I
Well,
said probably Carol of the Bells.
are we going greatest of all time, like your favorite, or greatest of all time?
But my favorite that I like listening to. I like the
Yeah.
August Burns Red Christmas album. It's got like a rock metal take on a lot of
Yeah.
songs. Carol the Bells. I think it's actually their most listened to song on Spotify too, which is funny that it's a Christmas song because they're a metal group. But I think Carol the Bells is probably my favorite. But if you
I
want
could
one
oh.
that's more got like the true meaning involved in it, I like First Noel and Silent Night also.
See, I would I need to go to my playlist here because I have one that I played at school mainly because I just wanted something different. So I would say all time for Christmas song, one of mine is my favorite is um where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Find it. Oh, Mary, did you know? That's one of my absolute favorites of all time. But then if I'm going like Christmas hits, I would say on mine would be Rocking Around the Christmas Tree is a classic, and Jingle Bell Rock. Those are probably two that I'm just like, you know what? Those two I probably played the most in my class this year. And also like there's a few other newer Christian songs that are Christmas oriented that I really enjoy. So that's been a really those have been really cool as well. Just to hear the new songs that maybe I didn't grow up with that are new. That's always fun. So those are my Christmas hits. But Jingle Bell is always, I guess, a classic. But I think everyone says that, so I had to go outside the box on that one.
There you go. We've actually been celebrating Christmas a little early in our family. My brother and his wife came into town Friday from New York, the
Yep.
Buffalo. But they wanted to watch the Buffalo Bills game at Cleveland with us. So all of us brothers and our girlfriends went up to Cleveland. That's the first time I've seen the regular season Browns. I've only been there for preseason
Well,
games.
you only have a few more years until they have a dome, so you might as well get used. You might as well enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah, getting out in the cold, right? Talking about 50 degrees today. I don't even think it reached 30 degrees in Cleveland when we went.
Oh,
So we were all layered up. I think we were all pretty cozy. Just every now and then we get a gust of wind that hit us and uh, maybe cause a couple shivers. But it was a fun experience. I think we all went into it assuming the Bills were going to win, and the Browns had a shot at the end. They only lost that game
the
23 to
classic
20.
Browns.
Yeah, but even not knowing how close the score was going to be, of course, Miles Garrett had the sack record on the line. If he got two, he would have beat it. But somehow he got credited for half a sack when
Which, by the
Josh
way,
Allen.
should
It
not have
should
gotten
not
credit
have.
for that.
Josh Allen fell down. He wasn't even Miles wasn't even the guy that tapped him down either. But he got credit for half a sack, and I know T.J. Watt got credit for a sack that he didn't get during that season. So I'm kind of okay with it.
Well, he just
But
needs to get like he needs to get two more so that counteracts that one. So he needs
yeah,
to like get two more.
like
But
don't
also if
just
you
get an even 23, get 23 and a half.
and also if you look at it, he like reaches like he knows he needs to get that sack. So he just like reaches to touch him. And I'm just like, dude, get it the old fashioned way, man. Like don't have the Gastineau issue where Gastineau, remember, he like
Hey,
approached Brett
Brett Favre.
Favre and
Yeah.
like said like, "Oh, you fell." And it's like, well, as a quarterback, I'm sorry. When I see a 6'6", 280-pound lineman running full speed at me, I'm going to do everything I can to protect myself. If that means I fall down, I fall down.
Hmm.
That's just a reality. So, um, yeah, I mean, it did. I was just like, man, just get the sack the old-fashioned way.
I don't
But
think
you,
Buffalo wanted anything to do with him though, because they were always running
oh
right,
yeah.
right away from
Also,
Miles.
and also,
I don't even think Josh Allen threw 20 passes in that game. They
no,
didn't want
I
any
would
part of
also say this. I think on top of that, wouldn't it be the most Browns thing for him not to get the record? Like you watch, it's gonna be the most Browns thing, and he's not gonna get the record. I have this really gut feeling that he's not
it.
gonna
But he
get it.
got 3 games left in
No, he
21
has
and a
two
half
games
sacks.
left. He has
No,
two
I mean
games
like
left,
going
man.
into the Buffalo game. You
Yeah,
got 21 and a half. You just got 3 games left, and you only have to get 2 sacks in 3 games, and you just don't get it. You finish like a half a sack short or
I
something.
just had that feeling because Garrett has had this in the past where he goes like 3 games without a sack, but then he hits like two in a row where he has like 4 sacks. So I don't know, man. I think he's got to at least tie it. Like I'll get as long as he ties it, I'll be happy. Get one sack, you tie it. Obviously, you want to break the record, but look, if he's going to win the defensive player of the year. If he doesn't, then who's freaking voting for this? But that's besides the point.
There were a couple other things in this game besides like the Miles sack thing to watch. Turns out Quinshon Judkins, I believe, dislocated his ankle
He
out for
had
the
the
season.
same injury as Scadaboo, basically.
Yeah, that
It's
sucks.
nasty, dude, and it looked gross.
hmm Yeah, didn't like seeing that. So his
His
rookie
rookie
season
year's
is
done.
over, but
Great rookie year, by the way,
was
for
a good rookie
the
season.
crappy offensive line he ran behind.
Yeah, yeah, definitely can be excited about that pick and what we got going forward. I was going to go ahead and see here if I can get us his final rookie stat line for the
He had about
season.
800 yards rushing, I believe,
It had
somewhere
to be
around there.
around there. Yeah, let me see. He had
He's on pace to get 1,000 until he got hurt.
so he finishes the year with 827 yards
Not
and
bad.
7 touchdowns on the ground. Yes.
Not bad at all. I mean, considering that the offensive line barely gave him any holes and he had to just make holes for himself, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. He also was not super involved in the receiving game, but 171 more yards over there. Uh, in this game, though, Shador actually was the leading rusher. I hadn't seen him scramble around all that much. It wasn't really something that you put a lot of tape out for college. Not super fast, but 4 carries for 49 yards to go with his 20 for 29 through the air, 157 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks. Took 2 sacks in this one. I don't know how much of the game you got to watch, Ben, but
Watched a little bit of it, yeah.
I thought this was the most conservative game plan that Kevin Stefanski's put together for Shador. And what I mean by that is one strength that he's had over Dylan Gabriel is the ability to throw the ball downfield. He didn't take too many shots downfield though. Like there was a lot of check downs, a lot of just
Well,
quick passes, stuff within like 5 to 10 yards of range. Uh, I don't know if there just wasn't anybody getting open downfield or if that was by design, but they didn't really take too many shots with him, and then did get a little bit more involved with scrambling around and stuff.
yeah, I guess too. I don't know. It feels like, well, also when you have really no threats downfield, it also doesn't help. I don't know, man. I think Stefanski is trying to do everything to salvage his job, but there's a gut in, dude. You give him 6 years. I feel like if Mike Tomlin can win with some of the crappy Steelers teams he's had over the years, we've got to find a way to win in some phase or fashion.
I agree. Uh, let's see, Harold Fannin had a touchdown rushing and
Oh, I
receiving.
love Harold Fannin, man. I love this kid.
I love Harold
I
Fannin.
said this before the draft. This was the guy I wanted the Browns to get because he's a guy that's versatile. If he turns out to be a good pick, you can get rid of Njoku. You don't have to pay that money. You can let you go Njoku walk or you trade him, and now you have a tight end for the future and a guy who's very versatile, kind of like Warren with the Colts. And I think they stole him in the third. We both said this after the draft. We were both shocked that he dropped all the way to the third round, and he just proved that you don't have to be from a top tier school to be successful, especially at the tight end position. I mean, he had 117 catches last year in college. He's going to have probably almost 80 catches this year. Dude, I love him, man. He's a freak, but I love him.
21 years old, got 70 catches for the Browns rookie receiving record. That's not just tight ends, that's just most catches by a Browns rookie with 701 yards and 5 touchdowns. Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren always were going to be the first tight ends taken, but didn't think Fan would fall to us in that round, so it's really awesome that we did get him. And then Schlesinger continues to add to his total. He got
Oh,
14
Schlesinger, man.
total
Oh,
tackles
love
in
that
this
guy.
one, all over the field. Yeah, the next highest was 9 from Devin Bush in this one. So I think too, Ben, the way that this Browns team has just been led by rookies, guys that
Barry
were
saved his job. Barry saved his job is what he did.
Barry. Oh, Andrew Barry, yeah.
Yeah.
That wasn't the angle I was going to go with though here. I just think that all these rookies that were like the best at their player at their school and stuff just goes to show that everybody always asks the question, could, the national champion in college football beat like the Browns or whoever the worst team in the NFL is? And I think this is your case study where all of our best players are like rookies and we got 3 wins and they can't get any success with other NFL veterans around him. So if you just had like all rookies, I don't think that you're winning any single games.
No. No, I agree with you on that. I think you look at this Browns team like, yeah, I just think you've had a lot of regression as well from the Browns. I think you've seen Batonio really show his age. Teller has really shown his age. Look, Judy has just been a shell of himself from last year. No other help on the receiver core. You have really no running back help outside of Judd because now he's down. Who knows what the running game is going to look like the last two games? Defensively, I mean, you take Garrett out of the picture and Schlesinger, like there's not much there. I just think the Browns have a real problem of like they stick with guys too long. And what I mean by that is like it's one thing to be a Joe Thomas world where he is an all pro for 11 plus years. But I think you have to know when to let some of these guys go. And I feel like with Batonio, like I love Batonio. He's a Brown for life. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer. But like some of these guys, like you need to like rejuvenate some of these age. You can't have 34-year-old linemen out there playing offensive line or even on the defensive line. I don't know if you agree with me on that. I feel like the Browns have, yeah, they have a lot of rookies, but then they have a lot of these dudes that are just like, okay, we need to move on. Like there's just a point when you have to get younger, and it's part of the game. It's part of the cycle. It's the same thing we say in baseball and basketball.
It's funny that you mentioned that they're holding on to guys too long because it used to be that we never would give guys like long enough to
Exactly.
have a fair shot. So it's like the pendulum swung the other way. We're gonna have a lot of questions after this season of who we're gonna hold on to, and Stefanski will be a guy like that. Barry might have saved his job with this draft class. Will Shador get, a full season next year?
Do you think
Well,
Stefanski's gone?
I think he's got to be, man. Like,
I mean, how do you go into an office meeting with your owner? How do you explain like where's your like goal? Because it's just you're going downhill. Like you've had the most probably rookie talent you've had, and yet you can't do anything with it. I this quarterback whisperer, which if you think about it, since he got there, they've went through like seven quarterbacks. It's not like he's
he
stuck with one
ruins
dude.
quarterbacks. The narrative used to be that he got the most out of like these average guys, but he's ruining guys. And I mean, he made Joe Flacco a little more conservative this year. You could say it was just because he was old, but he made Baker Mayfield more conservative. He made Deshaun Watson more conservative. And Shador's, like I said, he even looked more conservative than what he has been yesterday too. So I'm not really a fan of not opening up the playbook like that. Like, and if we're gonna get rid of Kevin, I think you gotta get rid of Barry too because he's given him all the pieces to put this together. Like they came in together
Yeah.
and this was like their idea and this is what they wanted. And I think if you're gonna get rid of one, you got to get rid of both of them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think though that there is a chance that they do keep Barry and they just get rid of Stefanski. I really do. Um, I just think that might be the way they go. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But as we all agree every week, Cleveland Browns suck. That's how we can agree on that.
Can definitely agree on that. There's not too much, yeah, disagreement as far as that goes. So, yeah, that's our little NFL Browns discussion. Looking ahead to the draft, we might have like the second pick and the 25th pick. We're talking about if the Jags continue to win. Uh, People are saying Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, one,
Please
two.
no. Please no. Please no. Save
It's
me.
just hard for me to believe that Fernando Mendoza, like I know he won the Heisman and everything, but this was a down year for the Heisman, Ben. And
No, I agree. I think you wait a year. I think if you're the Browns, you survive one more year because the next quarterback class you're going to have, if Arch Manning improves, you have Arch Manning, possibly Dante Moore if he comes back.
I'm
Julian
not sure
Sane,
Dante Moore's gonna leave.
yeah, Julian Sane will be in that class. You're going to have you're going to have so many good quarterbacks in that next class. I think you just wait if I'm the Browns and just get a tackle and get a receiver in the first round, and you start working away on those sides, and then you can work with Shador for one more year, and then if you like what you see, keep him. If not, you move on.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can get a pretty good receiver late first round. I think we can get a pretty good tackle early, or if we think that that's even too
We'll
early
just
for.
trade down, and get some more picks.
Yeah, I would think that Francois from Miami, Caden Proctor from Bama, Fano from Utah are probably gonna
Yeah.
be the first tackles taken. I don't know what the mocks are saying they're gonna go, but I would think a receiver like Carnell Tate or Casey Concepcion would be available late first round for us to get and get us a weapon there. But we'll see. We'll see once draft season rolls around who all declares and stuff. But as of right now, I'd be surprised if Dante Moore actually did declare because I didn't think he was all that impressive in college. Just a good college quarterback. But
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
I
see.
agree.
Man, speaking of college football, Ben, we got some playoff matchups, and if it wasn't for our, DEIG five teams, I would have missed probably all the first round matchups. We can just go ahead and work
Hey,
chronologically.
I just want to claim that I called All of them except Alabama. I believe I chose Oklahoma. So I got
I think
three out
we
of
both,
four.
yeah, I think we both went Oklahoma. I got two of the four. So Oklahoma looked like they were going to win. They jumped out 17 to nothing. I think Bama had zero rushing
Venables
yards
should
per
just go,
total.
man. He's not the guy for that team. I'm just saying that
But
now.
he's gotten them like steadily going. Like he had I think the 6 win, 9 win, 6 win, and
Dude,
they didn't make the playoffs this
they
year.
haven't won a playoff game since the
But they
playoffs
didn't win one
started,
with
man.
Lincoln Riley either, though.
No, I know that, but what I'm saying is like the Venables was supposed to be the like. I'm sorry, as a defensive guy, and to have that big of a chokehold is beyond me. You know.
Yeah, I mean the way that they did lose the game, like blowing a 17-0 lead, you got to be looking at the defense, like what happened here. But I just think it's unfair to say that they've never won a playoff game because of Brent Venables. Lincoln Riley never was doing it when they had the
No,
explosive.
I get it. I'm not saying that more. I'm just saying like more of like I just feel like a defensive guy, like these are the moments where you've got to like that's what you've been brought in for is the way you run your defense and the way the defense played all year. So, hats off to Alabama. I mean, I also think Alabama's going to get slaughtered by Indiana in the Rose Bowl, but that we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But I looked at this game and I thought, Alabama once again showed they can't run the ball, which Josh, we've talked about this for like weeks now.
They haven't been able to run all year,
They
so it's not a
they
factor.
can't run the ball. Their throwing looked fine at times. I mean, it looked better in the second half. But their defense played pretty well. Again, they didn't play like an amazing game, Alabama. They just played. They just kind of did what Indiana did against Ohio State. They played better when they had to at the moments they had to. And I think that helped them for sure in this case.
Yeah, like Oklahoma had more first downs. Alabama only was 2 of 12 on third down. They had 28 yards rushing. They only had one less penalty, and they didn't have any turnovers, but they only forced one on Oklahoma. It's it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Oklahoma, I think they should have done better. Mateer even had like the best game he's had in a while. He got over
Yeah,
300 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one. But yeah, running through everything, yeah, Oklahoma got, the first 17 here, and then Bama scores on a 9 play, 75-yard drive. They score on a 5 play, 13-yard drive, get a field goal. Then they get another short field touchdown, just 21 yards to get that one. They were getting some really nice field position in this one too, to get back into the game. But yeah, so they move on. Alabama does to face Indiana, and then going to the next day, Miami Texas A&M was scoreless in the first half.
I watched this game here live in Hungary, and it might have been the ugliest game I've watched in a very, very long time. Honestly, like one of the most boring. Not like there are some 10-3 games that are very exciting. This was a non-exciting game, like whatsoever. And it proved to me that Marcel Reed was never really the quarterback I think we thought he was. And it shows that Texas A&M really didn't play many people, had a very easy SEC schedule up until that Texas game. And they showed the last two games, they looked like a team that was a very mid bleh team in the SEC. I don't know about you, that's just what I saw from Texas A&M in this game.
Yeah, with the exception of beating Notre Dame, beating Missouri, probably the two of the best teams they played back to back, Texas and Miami, they lost to. And Marcel Reed, since you brought him up, I'll go ahead and he's got in those last 6 games he played, four of them were multi-interception games.
Yep.
So I do think it's a real question for Mike Elko and the Aggie offense if this is the guy you want to, roll into next season with even. Like that might sound dramatic since they just went 11-1 in the regular season, made the playoffs, something that Texas A&M hasn't really done in a season in quite some time, even in the Johnny Manziel days when they were, must-see TV. But yeah, I think that that's a question you got to be asking yourself. Marcel Reed's only a sophomore. Is there any more room in there to improve? But going into the game too, yeah, it didn't look to me like there was much struggle moving the ball for most of these guys. They could get down into the red zone or close to it, and then they just would find a way to screw things up, turn it over, miss a kick, uh, something like that. A&M didn't really run the ball too well either. Reed was the leading rusher with, 27 yards. What was a surprise was that Miami got a lot of yards on the ground with Mark Fletcher, 172 on just 17 carries. We haven't seen a game like that from him in a while. Uh, Last time he got 100 yards was back in October against Stanford, and in between then he got 84 against SMU, 19 against Virginia Tech, 30 against Pitt, and then just erupts here. So that's something maybe that Ohio State's going to have to think about now that they maybe didn't see as a threat before, is
Hmm.
now Miami might have found some success in the run game. Also thought it was exciting for Malachi Tony. He had that one punt return that he tripped up
Yeah.
on. Ended up being 0 points too, even though they were set up just, I think, 25 yards away from the end zone. But he gets the game-winning touchdown here for the U. Uh,
After he fumbled it like a couple plays earlier.
yeah, yeah, tough game for him, but ends up making, some big plays at the end. Mentioned Mark Fletcher might be a threat that Ohio State didn't think they had to worry about. Carson Beck, though, only 103 yards, touchdown, no picks in this one. There was wind in this one. I know it affected some of the kicks, and you could see on the field like how much it was blowing, like watching the coaches' shirts and the wind and stuff. But even still, I'm not so sure that like I said before, with how team both teams were moving the ball, I don't know if even no win would have made a difference. I think they just were self-inflicting wounds, and that's why there wasn't a whole lot of points in this one.
No, yeah, I agree. I think Miami showed flashes, especially running the ball, that can give people some worry if you're, a Ohio State fan. But also, Carson Beck was doing Carson Beck things. I never thought he was a great quarterback, and I think you kind of saw that in this game, I guess. Um, yeah, yeah, you could say win or not, but Marcel Reed was throwing it out there no matter what. So I don't know. I think if you're a High State, at least to start, and we'll talk about it, but I think you kind of load the box and you force Carson Beck to beat you. Until he does that, you keep doing what you got to do to win.
Yeah, I do think that well, I'll save that for when we like preview that game. Well, let's go ahead and move on to Ole Miss and Tulane. Small
Blowout.
test here, 41 to 10. If you're like that sounds familiar. I think we've seen that game before. It's because we have. 45 to 10 was the final the first time these teams faced. 41 to 10, second time around. Trinidad Chambliss, 282 yards through the air and a touchdown, no picks. 36 yards on the ground and two touchdowns. Kwan Lacey also had 87 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Tulane never stood a chance in this one, Ben. And from listening
No.
to the interviews at the end of the game, it sounded like the players were just excited to play football. All the discussion's been about Lane Kiffin and what that means for their playoff run, but these guys just look like they're using that as, extra motivation, chip on their shoulder. No one's giving them a chance in this one, and I think they're all like coming around each other at a good time, playing some good football.
No, yeah, I agree. I think Ole Miss is definitely playing, at least seems like it's playing its best football right now. We'll see with Ole Miss. They're got a big test against Georgia coming up, which is going to be a really big test. But against Tulane, you took care of business when you had to, and now you move on.
Yeah, not too many takeaways I think we can get from this one. This is kind of what we expected. My score prediction I think was 42 to 14 in this one, so not too far off of that. Tulane just didn't belong here, and we've had that discussion about the G5 teams like playing totally different football than what some of these Power Four
Yeah.
teams are. And we really saw that with the Oregon James Madison game in the
I know
final score.
James Maskin though. They came out. They put up 300 plus yards of offense. If I'm Oregon, I'm a little worried about that personally.
But a lot of it was in the second half against backups and stuff because this
Well,
game.
I would say that though, but they had two drives in the first half where they went like 60, 70 yards down the field, JMU. Like where they legit were moving the ball against Oregon. So I agree with you that the second half it was against some second teamers, but still the first half they were moving the ball. They had a couple drives where they were moving the ball, and that's what I'm trying to say is that.
Okay.
And even at the end, still, even as your second teamers are going to be way better than their first teamers. So that's where I think is another aspect of it too.
Yeah, like 51 to 34 was the final, but this game was 41 to 13 at one point, 34 to 3. Like I never gave him any kind of chance in this one. I thought that James Madison also was taking a lot more shots downfield because of the deficit there, and that's something they don't usually do. They're a team that likes to run the ball. And in this one, uh, let me go ahead and check that real quick. Um, but you mentioned that JMU was making some long drives. Oregon's drives, like initially too, were like 3, 4, 5 plays to score a touchdown. Like they were making light work. Dante Moore was putting on a clinic that, on how to play college football. Let me go ahead and I gotta reload the app up. For some reason it's taking slow. But Moore had a nice day. Uh, I think Oregon, like we said, did what they were supposed to do. Hang on.
The old
Okay, James
Apparoonies.
Madison ended up with 186 on the ground, 5.3, uh, zero turnovers, so credit to them for that. They had as many first downs. They had 13 penalties in this one, though. Oregon only had five. Yeah, Barnett took some shots downfield. He ended up with 48 pass attempts. I don't think that's something that they really like to do, but just a position that they were, forced to go into. He's only thrown 40 attempts one other time this year. That was against UL or
UL
Raging
Monroe,
Cajuns, Louisiana.
Louisiana, was that
University,
was?
yeah, University of Louisiana. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. 40 attempts in that one. So, like I said, they like to run their top 10 rush offense, and they had to throw a lot in this one. Got out of their rhythm, but that's because of the early deficit they had, which we expected. But still putting 186 on the ground, I don't think I would have expected that. Flipping over to Oregon, yeah, Dante Moore had 313 through the air, four touchdowns. He did throw two picks. Davison had 90 yards on the ground on only 10 carries. Hill had 76 on the ground on six carries and a touchdown. Um, yeah, they just scored so fast, Oregon did in this one. But to bring up some of the concerns that you had, Texas Tech's one of those teams that likes to get after the quarterback. Also, they're a team that runs really well. Uh, we'll see if any of that gets exploited. I guess we're going to learn how good the Big 12 really is too.
Yeah.
Okay. The one loss Texas Tech had. We'll go ahead and start previewing the Oregon Texas Tech game now, since basically just recapped all the first round. Oregon Texas Tech. Texas Tech's only loss this year came when their quarterback was injured against Arizona State. They like to run. They like to get after the quarterback. Um, they're going against some solid teams. They've without the loss, all their wins have been by 22 points. They beat BYU twice. They got Utah. Um, and then on the Oregon side, I they did beat Penn State in overtime when Penn State, was invested, we believe. Still not as good of a win as it initially looked, but it wasn't the same Penn State team that was post James Franklin. Uh, they did lose by 10 on their own field to Indiana. They had some tough stretches or a tough stretch at the end that they made it out unscathed. So you gotta wonder if Oregon's going to be peaking at the right time, if this tune-up game against James Madison was going to serve them well, or like you said, was there maybe some holes that got exposed that maybe Texas Tech can take advantage of? Because I think it's also fair to say that Texas Tech hasn't faced a team like Oregon has this year, but I think Oregon's faced some teams just as good, if not better, than Texas Tech. So that's just a couple thoughts into this one. Oregon is a 1.5 point favorite. What do you think about this matchup, Ben?
It's interesting because I think Oregon, I think they learned their lesson from last year. Obviously, last year they were not awake for the second round game. That's partly because they had a bye. So I think these teams that have buys have to look at that footage as well. But I think on top of that, um, I think Oregon has the ability to kind of control the game if they want. Again, Texas Tech they spent a lot of money on their defense. They have a really good defense. Their offense has been very solid. Um, but also Dan Lanning, first off, hats off to Dan Lanning again for, saying like, hey, these second round games should also be a home game for that top seed, which I agree with. I think
I
that's a
love
great,
that.
great idea. And again, Dan Lanning's always been a coach of the people, right? He's always willing to kind of whatever the people say, he kind of understands it or tries to make at least a statement about it. But at the end of the day, I just think I think Oregon's going to be a little too tough for them. I think they're going to be on a little bit of a roll, a little bit. Yeah, there are going to be some things I think are going to be exploited a little bit by Texas Tech, but at the end of the day, um, I think it's easier for me to go with Oregon in this sense because I just feel like they're ready for this moment. And I think I'm going to choose Oregon winning. I'm going to go 37-34 Oregon.
Yeah, last year, remember, none of the teams that had a first round bye ended up winning their game.
Yeah.
Oregon lost, Georgia lost, and then Arizona State and Boise State had the auto bids in those first rounds that they never should have had to begin with. Getting a bye, they changed it this year that the top four seeds, not the conference champs, get the first round bye.
Hmm.
So it'll be a little bit more of an accurate test this year. But yeah, Texas Tech uh, on New Year's at noon will be playing Oregon. I'm with Oregon too. I think that the Big Ten's just gonna like show how much better they are than the Big 12 in
Yep.
this one. Basically, where my point of view is coming from, but I don't think that Texas Tech is gonna get embarrassed by any means. I'll actually go Oregon 30-20 in this one. I think
I
one and a
like it.
half is too small of a spread, but been wrong before. We'll see. That's in Capital One Orange Bowl right there at noon. In the Rose Bowl at 4 p.m. New Year's Day, we got Alabama playing Indiana, and we got Indiana as a 7 point favorite in this one, Ben. I think if I'm a Hoosier fan, I just saw us allow just 10 to Ohio State with an offense that has guys like Jeremiah Smith, Bo Jackson, Carnell
Hmm.
Tate, Julian saying, I got to be feeling pretty good about what I can do against a team that basically has Ty Simpson, a bunch of average receivers, and no run game whatsoever. That's kind of what I'm looking at through here. Uh, we've seen Indiana get in some tough spots. Besides the Big Ten championship, they did get, like we said, that tough win on the road at Oregon. They had to come back, but they were able to beat Penn State. Iowa, I think, was a 5 point win. So all these close games that they're having against, or these are all close games they're having against good teams.
Hmm.
So I don't think Indiana is going to run away by any means with this one. 7 points, sounds about right for a line, but it wouldn't shock me if Alabama covered here. The other thing to keep in mind with Alabama, they really needed that win over Oklahoma because they're going to get a couple more extra guys healthy uh, that are important. Mentioned like Jen Miller, like we said, the run game doesn't really matter, but your running back's going to be a little bit more involved in the pass game, a little
Hmm.
bit more healthy. LT Overton's another one. And then you got to keep in mind too, I can't remember the kid's name, but Indiana lost one of their really solid starters for the rest of the season in that Big Ten championship too on that defense. So at least right now as it stands, I'm not expecting a lot of points to be scored in this one. I do think Alabama is going to keep it close, but I'll turn it over to you with any thoughts that you have.
Yeah, I think looking at this game as a whole, I think Indiana's out to prove something, right? They're out to prove that they're not just a fluke. And again, I look at the Rose Bowl, and every time I look at the Rose Bowl, I think of just epic games. I mean, think of the Smith and Jigba game from a few years ago, to the Vince Young, like all these different things that have happened in the past. For me, I just feel like Indiana is going to come out and lay a buzzsaw, as I would say. I think they're going to come out and really do it some damage. And to me, I think Indiana is going to win this game. I think easily. And I think they're going to win it. I'm going to go 28-20 Indiana.
Hmm. The other thought that I had, and I've heard this getting thrown around, it's not necessarily something I believe is going to happen, but similarly to how Ohio State needed the Michigan game for a wake-up call last year, did they maybe need that Georgia game in the SEC championship or even that 17 to nothing deficit against Oklahoma to be their wake up call to
Yeah.
come and play at their potential? Because they don't look like the same team they did in the middle of the season, which is why we had them ranked as like a top three team in the country in our power ranking. But I just think that Indiana's gonna, the defense is gonna show up. Alabama's too one-dimensional. I don't think they're gonna get away with going 2 of 12 on third down, rushing for under 30 yards, and be able to win this game against a team like Indiana. But Indiana's put themselves in some bad positions before. Mendoza had picks late in the game against both Penn State and Oregon. Iowa hung with them. Wouldn't shock me if Alabama hung with them too. So I'm gonna go 24-20 Hoosiers. It's gonna be close, but Indiana comes out on top. Later that evening, 8 p.m. New Year's Day, we got Ole Miss and Georgia, and we saw this game earlier this season too. Uh, that score ended up being Georgia 43 to 35, and it took a career day from Gunnar Stockton, Ben. They were down 2 scores in the second half. Stockton came out and threw for 4 touchdowns. He ran for one, only missed 5 passes in that game. So on the flip side, Trinidad Chambliss also was solid, 263 through the air and a touchdown. Also was leading rusher of 42 on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Both these guys are going to be X factors in this one. I think both these teams also are much better than they were the first time they played around. Of course, everybody's going to be pointing to the coaching staff change at Ole Miss because Pete Golding's taken over now instead of Lane Kiffin. But like we said before, it looks like the players are trying to use that as a chip on their shoulder, and we'll see how much the power of friendship amongst the Ole Miss roster leads to maybe some more success here. But yeah, we had a really exciting first matchup between these two teams. Uh, Georgia also is looking to avenge, of course, the
Yeah.
loss that they had last year, I think also. And they got to be one of the hottest teams coming into the playoff also. So I think this is gonna be the most exciting semifinal game, I think. But
Well, see, I'm biased here. Um, Also, people, I apologize. There's coughing. My wife is just coughing in the distance. So if you hear coughing, I'm sorry, people that are listening. Audio is just sounding great. No, no, I was, what I was saying was, is that I'm going to be very biased in this reasoning. Backstory. I think I've shared this a few times already on the podcast. I work with a coworker who is from Georgia. He played in the Georgia marching band. All right. He went there for school, got his master's in Liberty, but he's a Georgia fan, Georgia bred, from Georgia. And we teach together now. He's a history teacher. I'm a history teacher. So we like work together a lot every day. We have a bet going that if Ohio State and Georgia meet in the playoff, whoever loses, the other person will wear that jersey. So, for instance, if Ohio State would lose facing Georgia, I would wear a Georgia jersey. And if Georgia loses, then he would wear a Ohio State jersey. So I am a little biased in this. I will be honest with you because I want the
you want that
matchup.
chance. You want
I
them
want that
dogs to come out
chance.
on top.
I do. I want that chance. And so also, I don't buy into this old Miss Cinderella story. I think even if they beat Georgia and they have to face like Ohio State, like I think they're not going to win these games. I don't look at Ole Miss and go, this is a team that's going to run the table. Like that's just me. Like I think offensively, yes, they're good. I don't know if their defense can stay with some of these offenses. Again, we'll see. But at the end of the day, I think Georgia's just going to be, dude, they're playing on another level right now. Georgia might be the most consistent team right now in the second half of the season. And for me, Georgia's run game and Stockton is just keeps playing better. I have Georgia winning this game, and I have Georgia win this game by 2 touchdowns. I don't see Old Miss. And maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if Trinidad Chambliss is the guy that's going to get you over that hump this year. And again, you could say, well, the coach now he's an Old Miss guy, but yeah, but it's different when you have a shift like that. It changes everything, changes every aspect. So for me, I have Georgia winning with some little bias. I'm going to say 35-21 Georgia.
Well, speaking of how hot Georgia has been, let's just look at the last 5 games they've played. They beat Texas 35 to 10. Charlotte, an FCS team, we don't really care about that, but 35 to 3 there. They grunt out a tough win against Georgia Tech on the road, 16 to 9. They beat Alabama in the SEC championship 28 to 7. So there's three top 25 wins in their last 4 games, and now they got Ole Miss coming up, a team that they've already beat, a team that they had to come back down 2 scores. We've been saying about Georgia, no team has cut off the head of that snake. Texas had their shot, and they
Yep.
fell apart in that fourth quarter, especially. Uh, One other thing that I think is going to be a factor in this one is Ole Miss is top 3 in the country in explosive plays. I believe that's plays 20 yards or more. Georgia's defense is top 10 in the country in explosive plays allowed. So if Ole Miss is going to win this one, I think they are going to have to bust off some big plays in this one. And if
Yeah.
that Georgia defense can contain that and force them to make these longer drives happen without the big plays, I think that's going to lead to maybe some frustration on Ole Miss's offense. But I do think, regardless if Lane Kiffin was coaching this game or not, that Georgia's got the momentum in this one, and it will be not a terribly ugly game. They got Georgia -6.5 in this one. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say that Georgia wins 38-31, a slight cover
Ooh,
there. I think it'll be the most exciting matchup of the first round, like I said. Now, New Year's Eve, I think is gonna have maybe the
New
funnest
Year's Day for me, technically.
New
For
Year's Day
me,
for
it's
you.
New Year's
Okay.
Day,
For
technically.
those of us in the States on New Year's Eve, I think is the funnest matchup just because of the history of the
Oh, yeah.
national championship between them that happened, a couple
Still remember
decades.
that day. And by
Yeah.
the way, just want to point out to Miami fans that are listening to this, just to point out, if you remember before that play, that the infamous play in regulation, there was a no holding call that was not called against Miami. That was very blatant holding call that would have ended up leading towards a Ohio State victory in regulation. So I don't want to hear it. You know, I don't want to hear it. It's just, you know what? It's football. The amount of times Ohio State has been on the other end of that, and sorry, Miami, you should have beat us that year, and it's very obvious, but you let us hang. And what happens? It's the old adage, when you let them hang, you never know what happens.
Yeah, so regardless of the result, I don't think any Miami win or Ohio State win necessarily avenges or rights any wrongs. No one from those teams 20 years ago are even
That's true.
involved now, but I do hope we get to see like Michael Irvin and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and Maurice Claret and AJ Hawk and like all these guys on the sidelines for this one. There's just a lot of good history here. Miami's been working their way up under Mario Cristobal. I think they've improved every year. They won 10 games again this year, but also got the nod in the college football playoffs. So steady progression there for the Hurricanes. But if I'm Ohio State, like we were talking about earlier, I'm not feeling very threatened by what I saw from
No.
the offense. However, like we said, Mark Fletcher might be not that he was ever not a weapon, but
Former Ohio State
might have
commit, by the way. Former Ohio State commit, by the way.
former
So
Ohio
that team
State
makes more
commit. Yeah,
fun.
so there's that motivation there from him also. Uh, but could be maybe a little more involved in this than we initially imagined. Um, I think as far as line of scrimmage goes, offensive and defensive line, these two teams might have the two best ones out of the remaining eight. I think that could
Hmm.
be an argument that you make, and this could be a game that falls within the trenches. I was also saying before too, I don't think Ohio State's really faced a weapon like Malachi Tony, but Miami also hasn't faced a weapon like Jeremiah Smith yet either. And I
Or
trust Julian.
Carnell Tate.
Yeah, or Carnell Tate. Yeah, you could throw that out there too. But I do trust the guy that's throwing Jeremiah Smith the football a little bit more than I do the guy throwing Malachi Tony the football. This is the biggest spread of all the matchups at 9.5 right now. Uh, but like I said, even though it's the biggest, I think it's going to be the funnest just because of the history amongst these teams. So I'll go ahead and let the resident Buckeye fans speak on this matchup
I,
now.
I'll start with this. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't want Buckeyes fans to think that we're going to go in after the Indiana game and it's going to be like last year. I would hope it is like last year, and you hit a new gas, but a good new gas pedal. But I think let's be more realistic. It's been a long break. It's going to be what, almost 3 weeks since the last game, and it can be a heavy kind of heavy feel a lot of times. It's very hard to bounce back quickly. I have a really gut feeling. I have a probably an 80% chance that I know this is going to happen. It's going to start off real slow. As of yesterday, it was announced that Ryan Day will be calling the plays and not Brian Hartline, which I never understood the whole Brian Hartline was going to call plays. I never believed that was going to be fully for tuition. I even think in the Big Ten championship game, Ryan Day was calling most of the plays. I kind of even said that on the show, and I think it's the right decision. Some people are like, well, like he gave him up because the offense was struggling. I'm like, no, he gave him up because he had so much going on his plate. But during this month, he has 3 games to focus on. He doesn't have to do a whole season. He just has to get through this, and then he can get his new OC to be in there. And I think Ryan Day, people forget Ryan Day is one of the best play callers, and Josh has even said this in the show. Ryan Day is one of the best play callers when he sticks to what he knows best, like the Justin Fields teams, like the Dwayne Haskin teams. and just sticks with what you do best. Ryan Day is one of the best player callers in football. Just like we say about the same about Lincoln Riley, but Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day have a tendency to fall away from that. So I'm hoping that Brian Hartline and Keenan Bailey will be there to guide him and remind him the importance of these games, and not to just be lazy and just go with the easy thoughts. But at the end of the day, I think the line of scrimmage worries me a little bit. I think because of Bain and because of the other end for Miami, plus their D tackles, like I think. Look, Indiana showed something. I said this on our show last time. Is Indiana showed a few things that caught me off guard, realizing the offensive line, at least on the right side, is struggling. Now, the worst player on that line is not going to play for High State, and Tegro Shabola. He's out with surgery, so I actually am a little more confident in that sense on that right side. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens. What's the game plan? I think if you're smart, you get the ball out of Julian Saint's hands fast and get into your best player. Don't do this thing that we did last year against Notre Dame and against these other teams where we just waited to give Jeremiah Smith the ball until the second half. He should have 12 catches every single game this playoff run. Force them to make a play because people forget that you have Brandon Inniss, you have Max Clare, you have Carnell Tate, you have Peoples, you have Donaldson, you have Bo Jackson, you have so much talent. Use it. And so at the end of the day, I trust Julian saying, like you said, I don't trust Carson Beck to have a game where he's not making mistakes. And so for me, I'm really leaning towards. I think the high state defense staying where they're at, maybe even having a little bounce back game, and the offense having definitely a bounce back game. I'm going to go Ohio State wins this 24-10. I think Ohio State, and I don't even make a bold prediction here, is that Ohio State will score the first 21 points of the ball game. That's my bold prediction for Ohio State game.
Julian Saints faced some good defenses. He's played Texas, he's played Michigan, he's played Indiana. And even if you want to say that that loss to Indiana is like an
Still
indictment,
almost through 78% completion.
yeah, if it's some indictment on Ohio State and it's like you want to say that proved Indiana was the best, I think Ohio State at least proved they're the second best by only losing by three in that one.
Yeah.
Now, Brian Hartline, we know, is going to be the head coach at USF. How much of that is a distraction? Is it to the point that he forgets he has Jeremiah Smith and lines up all these three tight end sets? I think that's a little weird, but yeah, what got Ryan Day this head coaching job was his ability to call plays, and I think there was eventually a time where it got too big for him to try to do everything, and he needed a guy like Brian Hartline to call plays so he could step into more like a CEO role. But I
Well, he
think it's
needs to
what's best
step
for the
up,
team.
man.
I think it's what's best for the team. I think I would have even gone a step further and said, thank you, Brian. Like a lot of the reason that Ohio State's wide receiver you is because of you. These are the guys that you've recruited, that you've developed, and you've been calling plays to, scheme them open and stuff. But we need all hands on deck. We need 100% focus here. And you're taking this job, so see ya, buddy. But I understand too, like, the loyalty that's involved there to a guy that's
And he's
made
a and
Ohio.
he's a Buckeye, and he's a true Buckeye, which makes
Yeah.
it, I think, harder. And also, shout out to Brian Hartline for hiring his brother as a quarterback coach, by the way, down at USF, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. Not a surprise, but yeah. Um, what else was I going to say in this one?
Oh,
Yeah,
special teams, by the way, that's one thing I want to point out. I think that's going to be the big part of this game.
Miami missed a handful of kicks here. Ohio
And
State has
Ohio
missed a
State,
handful of clutch kicks, so
I
not
say we just say
but
we're not allowed to go for field goals. I think it should be a rule between both teams. No punting and no going for field goals. I don't care if it's fourth and 30, you have to go for it.
if
I think
this
that
is a
should be the
game
way.
that comes down to kicks, I honestly don't even know who has the edge.
I 100% would agree with you. I
Yeah.
think at the end of the day, if you're Ohio State and it's fourth and 2 at the 22-yard line, you go for it. Say screw it. If we don't get it, we trust our defense. Um,
How much might if this comes down to special teams, who has the edge, and also the lack of special teams, how much does that maybe lead to some extra fourth down attempts that we wouldn't have seen? There's
oh, for sure.
a lot of things that could affect the script of this game, and if it ends up being Ohio State scores the first 21, then maybe this is a moot point at the end of the day anyway. But if we're close like this, and it just seems like the battle at the line of scrimmage is real, and like if you got a 3-point lead, it feels like 30 points, like that kind of game. That I mean, the Texas A&M and Miami game kind of felt that way at times.
But also, I think you brought up a good point. Miami has not faced Jeremiah Smith before, which is funny because Jeremiah's from Miami, and I love Jeremiah Smith because he goes on whenever they ask him questions, he's just straight up honest. And the fact that he was bashing probably some of his old teammates that play for Miami is just it's hilarious to me. Um, but I'll be interested to see how they defend him because I think the X factor will be Max Clare because if you take a safety over the top to help with Smith, then you have probably a guy, at least one guy on on Tate, and then probably at least a slot guy on Ennis. So what are you gonna do? Line up a linebacker? I hope they line up a linebacker against Claire because I think Max Claire is a very underrated tight end. And I think that he's going to be the X factor of this game for sure. Him and Bo Jackson.
Yeah. Do you want to know what Miami's defense has done against maybe some of the more premier pass catchers they faced?
Not bad. They've done pretty well.
Mario Craver got 7 catches for 92 yards, no touchdowns. KC Concepcion 4 catches for 33 yards, no touchdowns in that one, of course. Also, um, let me check uh, one other one here. Um, I mean, as far as run game goes, Miami did pretty good against Jeremiah Love early in the season too. That was one that we thought he probably should have had more touches, but held him to just 33 yards on the ground in that game. Um, so how are they going to do against Jeremiah Smith? We'll find out. Jeremiah Smith is a Florida kid. He knows about
Yep.
the national championship. He said they're still talking about it 20 years later and stuff. Just kind of rambling at this point, but at the end of the day, I think Ohio State's going to take care of business, and it might be about that 9.5 point spread. I'll go a little bit more though. I'll say Ohio State gets a solid two-score win here at 35-25.
I love it. I love it. I think that's the crazy part about college football, man. I'm loving it. It's that Christmas time, but we're also looking forward to football as well. Um, if you couldn't tell, I'm wishing on my Cavaliers to maybe learn how to play basketball. Yeah, man. Josh, it's getting to that time, winter time. Football's wrapping up here in the next about a month or so, a little more than a month. And then obviously we'll have some more basketball, focus on more on basketball here as the time changes, and then we also have spring training for baseball. So please stay tuned for that because I know some people would like to hear that. Maybe we'll throw some more hockey in this year. You never know. That's always a challenge to figure
Yeah.
out what sports are good and covered. And also the World Cup is this summer, so maybe do we have a Jared spot on the podcast this summer with the World Cup? Because Josh and I, as you know, are experts when it comes to deciding on who wins the World Cup. We are true experts.
hmm
It's Josh's
Uh,
favorite subject.
Honestly, I'm just waiting over here to see who signs Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. There hasn't really been any big signings yet since the last time we
There was
talked.
a Japanese guy signed by the White Sox. He's the
Yeah,
home
yeah,
run
he
king.
was. I can't remember his name or even how
It's
to pronounce it.
Mushada or Kushada, something like that,
Yeah, not going to disrespect the kid, but ended up signing a modest 2 year, I think $34 million deal with the White Sox ended up being.
which is hilarious. The Browns, the Reds tried the whole Japanese player thing, and it was Yakiyama and Akiyama, and he hit a career 206 with the Reds. So I think they had their first take and it just didn't go well.
I think the
Um,
the Mets continued their fire sale too and traded away Jeff McNeil, so I don't really know what direction they're going right now.
I just love it because I think Soto is wishing he would have went somewhere else. That's what I think.
Yeah, they're doing
Uh,
stuff like that, but then they go out and sign Luke Weaver and they sign Devin Williams and they sign Jorge Polanco. So I think they're trying to do like what the Yankees did last year when they missed out on
yeah,
Monsoon, ironically.
which is funny because I feel like if you're Soto, you're like, okay, who cares? I'm still making 51 million this year.
I mean,
You can
that's
do
why you
whatever you
go and
want.
sign a 15 years, $765 million
Dude,
deal.
honestly though, do you ever wonder if those guys are like sitting there like, you know what? If you want to fire sale, I don't care. I'm still making 58 million a year. Now
I mean,
then
that
again,
was.
he is living in New York, so he's making about 22 million a year. But
Mhm.
give or take, and amount of rent he has to pay and everything. But
Yeah.
Dude, if I'm going to make 51 million, I'd be like, look, can we post me up in like Tennessee and I'll just fly to every game? Can we do that so I don't have to pay all this
Yeah.
state taxes?
You do have your Anthony Rendones that don't really care about baseball or how your team does. So,
Okay, I read an article or I read it at some post that said like, oh, he came out on a podcast or something like said like he really cares, and I was like, really, really. I'm just just from
oh my.
observation there, Anthony, you've played about like 12 games in the last 6 years, and you're making double what most people guys make in the MLB.
Mhm.
Right, you care. You care about money. That's for sure.
Yeah,
That's
makes a
for
great
sure.
living.
It's make a great living. Um, Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. Go ahead and watch some bowl games, by the way. There's always, yeah, let's go give some credit to the bowl games, but we can't just watch college football play. There's some bowl games happening. Go watch the bowl games. It's those I grew up watching. They were so much fun, especially in the BCS era. That was something as a team you look forward to playing in. So once again, thank you so much for listening on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. If you love watching this on YouTube, click that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. And from Josh and I, we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I will have an episode before the New Year, but very Merry Christmas. Hope you guys spend time with family. Stay safe out there. It could be slushy. It could be a storm. It could be beach weather, wherever you're at. I hope you light up a Christmas tree and you have some good food, open up some gifts with the love of giving. And as always, until next time, we'll see ya.